Good morning, everyone. Our today's topic of discussion is diagnostic approach to the myelodysplastic syndromes. Before going to the main topic, first we'll see the overview of the classification of myeloid neoplasm. The first group is the myeloproliferative neoplasm, and it comprises of chronic myeloid leukemia, BCR-ABL positive, chronic neutrophilic leukemia, polycythemia vera, primary myelofibrosis, essential thrombocythemia, chronic eosinophilic leukemia, and myeloproliferative neoplasm unclassifiable. The second group is myelodysplastic myeloproliferative neoplasm, which includes chronic myelomonocytic leukemia, atypical chronic myeloid leukemia BCR-ABL negative, juvenile myelomonocytic leukemia, myelodysplastic myeloproliferative neoplasm with ring sideroblast and thrombocytosis, myelodysplastic myeloproliferative neoplasm unclassified. Other myeloid neoplasms are myelodysplastic syndromes, acute myeloid leukemia, myeloid neoplasm with germline predisposition, mastocytosis, myeloid or lymphoid neoplasm with eosinophilia and gene rearrangement. Now going to the main topic, that is myelodysplastic syndromes. These are basically group of clonal hematopoietic stem cell diseases characterized by persistent cytopenia, dysplasia in one or more hematopoietic lineages, ineffective hematopoiesis, recurrent genetic abnormalities, and increased risk of developing acute myeloid leukemia. So there is a threshold as per the International Prognostic Scoring System, which includes the hemoglobin concentration of less than 10 gram per deciliter, platelet count of less than 1 lakh per cubic millimeter, and absolute neutrophil count of less than 1800 per cubic millimeter. Coming to the epidemiology, MDS is basically disease of elderly, the median age for which is 70 years. There is male preponderance and annual incidence is about 3 to 5 cases per 1 lakh population. So coming to the clinical features, the symptoms will be related to the cytopenia. For example, if there is anemia, the most common symptoms being pallor and easy fatigability. In case of neutropenia, there will be recurrent infections, and in case of thrombocytopenia, there will be bleeding and bruising manifestations.
According to WHO classification of MDS, currently we are using 2016 classification of MDS, which is based on number of dysplastic lineages, number of cytopenia, the percentage of ring sideroblast that is done on a Pearl stain, then percentage of blast in the bone marrow and peripheral blood, and cytogenetics by conventional karyotype analysis. So to simplify the classification, let's divide this into two groups. When the blasts are increased and when the blasts are not increased. Blast means the blast presenting in the peripheral blood and the bone marrow. So coming to the first group, that is when the blasts are not increased, that is the percentage in the bone marrow is less than 5% and in the peripheral blood that is less than 1%. Along with that, also the ring sideroblast are also less, that is less than 15%, or in case of a mutation called as SF3B1 mutation, the cutoff for the ring sideroblast is even less, that is less than 5%. In these cases, when the blast is also not increased and the ring sideroblasts are also less, we have a diagnosis of MDS with either single lineage dysplasia or multilineage dysplasia. Based on the dysplastic lineages, like in single lineage dysplasia, we have dysplasia in only one lineage, whereas in multilineage dysplasia, the dysplastic changes will be seen in 2 to 3 lineages. So along with the dysplastic changes in the peripheral blood, there are cytopenia. In the MDS with single lineage dysplasia, the cytopenia can be 1 to 2. And in MDS with multilineage dysplasia, the pancytopenia is allowed here. The next category is MDS with ring sideroblast. Again, on the basis of dysplastic changes in one or more lineages, it is again subdivided into single lineage and multilineage dysplasia. Here again, the blasts in the bone marrow and peripheral blood are less. And the distinguishing feature between the first category and the second category is the percentage of ring sideroblast in this category is more than 15%, or in case of SF3B1 mutation, it should be more than 5%. The next entity is MDS with isolated 5q deletion. Here, the number of dysplastic changes will be in 1 to 3 lineages. The number of cytopenia can be in 1 to 2 lineage. Again, the bone marrow percentage of blast is less. The most important feature is we get by the cytogenetic studies by karyotyping, that is here there is deletion of the long arm of chromosome 5. The next class is MDS with excess blast. This category has more aggressive course based on the blast percent in the bone marrow and peripheral blood. It is divided into two categories, excess blast 1 and excess blast 2. In EB1 category, the peripheral blood blast percent is 2 to 4% and in bone marrow they are 5 to 9% and there are no OR rods. In the excess blast 2 category, the blast percentage in the peripheral blood are 5 to 19 and in bone marrow they are 10 to 19 and there are OR rods. If OR rods are present, then irrespective of the blast percentage, it will be the MDS excess blast 2 category. The last subclass of MDS is MDS unclassifiable. Here we have few conditions that would otherwise suggest the classification of single lineage dysplasia or single lineage dysplasia with ring sideroblast, but with peripheral blood blast percentage of 1%. Then the second category is when patients with single lineage dysplasia present with pancytopenia. As I told before, the patients with single lineage dysplasia have cytopenia in only 1 to 2 lineage. Only in multi-lineage dysplasia, the pancytopenia is allowed. So patients with single lineage dysplasia presenting with pancytopenia will be in MDS unclassifiable entity. So based on few cytogenetic abnormality, if there are no dysplastic changes in the bone marrow, there is pancytopenia that is variable or a cytopenia affecting only one lineage. But based on few MDS defining abnormality, we call it MDS, even if the dysplastic changes are not present in any lineage. So when to suspect an MDS on a peripheral blood smear examination. So you have a patient who is elderly patient coming to you with a cytopenia. First test you do is a CBC and PS examination. So on PS examination, as you see in the first picture, the RBCs are pretty, there is anisopoikilocytosis. You can see dimorphic blood picture. There are elliptocytes and teardrop cells. In the second image, you can appreciate the macrocytes and ovalocytes. Also, you can see hypersegmented WBC. In the third image, you can see there are neutrophils in which there is hypolobation of the nucleus. This kind of neutrophils are called as pseudo-Pelger-Hue anomaly, which is a dysplastic feature. Normally, the neutrophils are having 3 to 4 lobes and they are connected with a thin strand. Here, there is failure of the segmentation of the nucleus of neutrophil. In the fourth image, you can see this is a neutrophil, the nucleus of which is having a shape of a old-fashioned glasses. They are known as pince-nez glasses. So these are the features of dysplastic neutrophil. Now this image is showing a neutrophil, the nucleus of which is having a shape of a donut. The next image shows a neutrophil with, there are no granules. This is called as hypogranular or agranular neutrophils. These are also dysplastic features. Here in the last image, there are giant platelets which are hypogranular or agranular. So these all features on a peripheral blood examination should alert a diagnosis that some dysplastic changes are going on in the bone marrow. So the next test we do is one more image. Here on a peripheral blood examination, you can see thrombocytosis with macrocytic anemia. This kind of blood picture with thrombocytosis is seen in a MDS with 5q deletion syndrome. And the last image shows presence of blast in a bone marrow. Here you can appreciate the OR rods in the cytoplasm of a blast. So the next test we perform is a bone marrow aspiration. In bone marrow aspiration, we count 500 cells and we look for dysplastic features. If the dysplasia is seen in more than 10% of the lineages, we call it significant myelodysplasia. So as I told before, the dysplastic features can be seen in all the three lineages. So first, coming to features of dyserythropoiesis, here you can see the nucleus is sieve-like and there is open up chromatin. This is called as megaloblastoid change. Here you can see nuclear budding. Here there is binucleation and one mitotic figure is seen. In this image, there are two erythroid precursors, the size of which is unequal, and the nucleus of the first is lobated, and here you can see there is a bridge in between the two nucleus. This is called as internuclear bridging, and this is a dysplastic feature. Now coming to dysplasia in the megakaryocytic lineages, normally a megakaryocyte is the largest cell in a bone marrow which is having a single nucleus which is lobated. In dysplastic megakaryocytes, what happens? There is multinucleation and the nuclei are widely separated. It is given a name called as pawn ball megakaryocyte. The term comes from a symbol of a pawn shop, which is a three-ball symbol. Again, these are the hypolobate megakaryocytes. In these megakaryocytes, the cytoplasm is less and the nucleus is at the periphery of the cell. These kinds of megakaryocytes are seen in the patients with 5q deletion syndrome. Now, on a Pearl stain, in a category of MDS with ring sideroblast, we see more than 15% of ring sideroblast. And in other subtypes, there can be ring sideroblast, but they're often less than 15%. So, ring sideroblasts are the erythroid precursors with iron-laden mitochondria that are visible with a Pearl stain. We call it ring sideroblast when there are more than 5 granules occupying more than 1/3 of the nucleus of a cell. In a category with MDS with excess blast, this image shows increase in the blast percentage in a background of trilineage dysplasia. After having dysplastic feature on the peripheral blood, on bone marrow aspiration, we do bone marrow biopsy to assess the cellularity, to do some spatial stains, to look for any fibrosis, and to look for abnormal localization of immature precursors. So as I told before, in MDS there is ineffective hematopoiesis. That is, the bone marrow is hypercellular and in the peripheral blood there is cytopenia. So this is a bone marrow biopsy from a 70-year-old patient, and for a 70-year-old patient, you know the normal cellularity will be 30%. So here obviously the cellularity is increased and there is erythroid hyperplasia. In MDS, as you see normal in a normal bone marrow, as you see the topography, the normal myeloid precursors are seen in the paratrabecular area, and the megakaryocytes and other cells are seen in the center of the bone marrow. So in MDS, what happens? There are clusters of the immature myeloid precursors that come to lie in the center portion of the marrow. Here the clusters of more than 5 cells, this is called as abnormal localization of immature precursors. And these cells can be picked up on a CD34 immunohistochemical stain, and presence of ellipse it is called as, it carries very bad prognosis because this patient, the rate of transformation to AML is more. So this image showing a bone marrow biopsy with increased number of megakaryocytes. The megakaryocytes are hypolobate. So these kinds of megakaryocytes are often missed on a biopsy because they are not of a usual shape. So immunohistochemical stain of CD41 or CD61 to be done to pick up these kinds of megakaryocytes on a biopsy. So as I told before, there is a role of immunohistochemistry when there are increased number of blasts which are to be picked up on a CD34 immunohistochemical stain. Also, the dysplastic megakaryocytes, which are often missed on a biopsy, they are to be picked up on a CD41 stain. So coming to our next investigation, that is a karyotyping. As I told before, in MDS, there is a special type called as 5q deletion syndrome. It is kept as a separate entity as it is pretty different from other MDS subclasses. 5q deletion syndrome is mostly seen in female. This patient present with anemia and thrombocytosis. And when you see a bone marrow, you will see there is hypoplasia of the erythroid precursors, and the megakaryocytic lineages are increased in the number. And also the hypolobate megakaryocyte, which are the dysplastic feature, these are seen in this type of MDS. And coming to the karyotyping, in 5q deletion syndrome, on a karyotype, you can see there is deletion of the long arm of chromosome 5. So this becomes a diagnostic feature. Now coming to few words about MDS defining karyotypes. So here there are few cytogenetic abnormality that are considered as a evidence of MDS, even if there are no dysplasia in the bone marrow. It includes deletion of 7q, deletion of 5q, 9q deletion, 13q deletion. So if these karyotypes are present, then irrespective of dysplasia in the bone marrow, you can call it MDS. Except there are three karyotypes, the gain of chromosome 8, loss of Y chromosome, and deletion 20q. If these three karyotypes are present, you will also need dysplastic features in the bone marrow to call it an MDS. So now coming to differential diagnosis. Now, differential diagnosis of MDS with single and multilineage dysplasia. First is the MDS with ring sideroblast. To differentiate it, we have more than 15% of ring sideroblast. The second one is MDS unclassifiable, but in unclassifiable subtype, presence of one blast in peripheral blood is there and there is pancytopenia. Then third class is idiopathic cytopenia of undetermined significance. These are the cases in which there is cytopenia and there is no dysplasia in the bone marrow. Also, there are no somatic mutations. But these cases should be followed up because there are chances that these cases might transform into the myelodysplastic syndrome if the somatic mutation occurs. Then erythroid dysplasia can occur in nutritional deficiencies like vitamin B12 and folate deficiency, in case of HIV and parvovirus B19 infection, in case of chemotherapy, and toxins like alcohol, lead, and arsenic poisoning can also cause erythroid dysplasia. The next class is drugs. The drug tacrolimus causes marked nuclear hyposegmentation. After administration of the granulocyte colony stimulating factor, there are increased number of blasts in the peripheral blood. Also, the neutrophils show hypergranulation. The last differential diagnosis is Pelger-Hue anomaly. It is a hereditary autosomal dominant condition which occurs due to mutation in laminin B receptor. Here there is failure of the nuclear segmentation, and unlike MDS, this is totally benign condition. Now coming to differential diagnosis of MDS with ring sideroblast. Ring sideroblast can occur in a bone marrow in case of toxicity with alcohol, toxins like lead and benzene, in case of isoniazid therapy in absence of vitamin B6, in case of copper deficiency, and congenital sideroblastic anemia. But to differentiate this, the patient present at the younger age and the anemia is of microcytic rather than macrocytic. Then coming to differential diagnosis of myelodysplasia with excess blast. As I told before, the blast can increase in the peripheral blood after administration of the granulocyte colony stimulating factor. In patients recovering from bone marrow aplasia, there is transient increase in the blast percentage. And there are few AML subtypes. Even with a low blast count, we call it AML if specific translocation are present, like translocation 1517, inversion 16, and translocation 821. Now coming to management and prognosis of myelodysplastic syndrome. First, the supportive therapy is there. As we know that these patients are neutropenic, so triple combination of antibiotic is given prophylactically, which includes antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. In case of low counts, the erythropoietin and granulocyte colony stimulating factor can be given. Also, transfusion of RBCs and platelets can be done. There is a role of anti-thymocyte globulin in hypoplastic MDS, as in this type of MDS there is immune dysregulation. So anti-thymocyte globulin helps in this kind of patients. There is a role of iron chelation, as most of the MDS patients are having anemia and they're given multiple transfusions, so that there is significant iron overload which carries increased morbidity and mortality due to iron deposition in the myocardium and liver. There are also new agents like lenalidomide, which is a thalidomide analog, and this drug is given in patients with 5q deletion. As you know that 5q deletion syndrome patients are transfusion dependent. This drug makes them transfusion independent. There is a drug which is hypomethylating agent called as azacitidine. It is given in both low risk and high risk MDS patients, and the only curative treatment is a hematopoietic stem cell transplantation, but it also carries its own morbidity. So coming to prognosis, um, the MDS subclass with single lineage dysplasia alone or single lineage dysplasia with ring sideroblast and deletion 5q, this carries a better prognosis as the overall median survival rate is more and there is less risk of transformation to AML. The MDS classes with multilineage dysplasia carry worse prognosis than single lineage dysplasia. And at last, the MDS categories with excess blasts carry worse prognosis because the median survival is low and the risk of progression to AML is more. So to summarize the topic, every dysplasia is not an MDS. No patient should be diagnosed with MDS if clinical and drug history is unknown. Nowadays, we are using WHO 2016 classification. Before that, a FAB classification was in use, in which the cutoff for blast percentage was kept at 30%, but in 2016 WHO classification, the cutoff is kept at 20%. The presence of OR-ROD makes it MDS category excess blast 2, irrespective of a blast percentage. The ALIP, that is abnormal localization of immature precursors, carries very bad prognosis because these patients transform to acute myeloid leukemia. So to summarize the classification, we make only two groups if the blasts are increased and if blasts are not increased. So if the blasts are increased, we have two classes, MDS with excess blast 1 and MDS with excess blast 2, based on the percentage of blast in the bone marrow and the peripheral blood. If the blasts are not increased and if the ring sideroblasts are less than 15%, then we have differentials like MDS with single lineage dysplasia and multilineage dysplasia, which are to be subdivided based on the dysplastic feature presenting in one or more lineage. If the ring sideroblasts are increased to more than 15% or more than 5% in case of SF3B1 mutation, this patient should be kept in a category of MDS with ring sideroblast, again on the basis of dysplastic feature presenting in one or more lineage. It is also subdivided into MDS with ring sideroblast with multi and unilineage dysplasia. And in absence of these all features, if a specific abnormality on a karyotype is present, that is 5q deletion, we have a separate entity called as MDS with isolated 5q deletion syndromes. Thank you.